That's over $2,000 a month, I think.
I see.
So yeah, they can be working. They need to prove to us, they have to sign an affidavit and swear that the income levels they're providing are true.
Okay.
Ultimately, if there's any discrepancy or dispute about that, then the court will decide. And it's up to them to either bring in their W-2s if they're working or prove their indigency status. But you don't have to be flat broke. You could be making, like I said, at least $1,100 a month.
I see. That's pretty interesting, because I mean, well, again, sometimes when we think about something in a general sort of way, well, yeah, if you have no income at all, you know, then the court, you'll have the option of a court-appointed attorney of some kind. But that's really not true. But the next question, then, kind of right along these lines, and how are your prospective clients chosen? I mean, how do you connect here?
Well, everybody has a right to hire their own attorney. They don't have to go with us. Generally, the best way to do it at the muni court levels, you go to your initial appearance, and if you're going to contest your case or you want to talk to an attorney, and before you make any kind of a plea, you'd plead not guilty. And then at the Medina Muni courts or at the Wadsworth court, we have representatives at the court on arraignment days that you can fill out the forms there.
I see.
And then we start the ball rolling, and you'll be assigned an attorney and contact information we provided. So the best way is to, you answer your arraignment call, plead not guilty, and then there's people there to take care of that. Now, sometimes at Wadsworth or Medina, if you don't get in to see our representative at the court, you can still come down to the office.
To the office there on Washington Street.
Between 9 and 3:30.
Okay.
And fill out the paperwork there. But at times of the essence, you need to get, because there's speedy trial rules, there's rights, and you might be waiving things, and that's why we really like you to do it the day that you plead not guilty.
Sure. Of course, for the benefit of our viewers, that's a very significant thing you just said, because a person could get in a mindset, well, I don't have the money for a lawyer. I don't really know what else to do. I guess I'll show up, and for lack of anything else, I'll just tell them I'm guilty, and what else can I do? That's not the thing to do.
No. You hear that a lot, and they'll say, oh, I just want to get it over with, or, you know,
yeah.
Especially at a first-degree misdemeanor level or a second-degree misdemeanor level, you could be looking at 6 months incarceration. You should talk to somebody. There's a lot of private attorneys out there that'll talk to you either for a free consultation or
members of your office.
Or our office will handle that kind of stuff. But you need to avail yourself of our help.
And see, when people, it's a good point. I mean, we talked about, when we had Judge Chase on, we talked about the difference between misdemeanors and felonies. And, you know, people may not understand that, well, it's only a misdemeanor, and they don't, you know, I won't be going to jail, but you can. In fact,
yeah,
I mean, you go to prison if it's very possible, correct? I mean,
well, I think the worst sentence you could get on any one time would be 18 months.
I see.
If you had, if you were charged with theoretically 3 first-degree misdemeanors,
they'd be stacked.
They could stack them up and give you 18 months. You could get probation for up to 5 years.
So there is a real possibility, even though we sometimes look at the muni court as a lesser court, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sort of way, but their jurisdiction is not for the more difficult or the more severe cases. But still, what you're saying, even in muni court, it could be possible for somebody would go to jail for a year and a half.
Well, that's very, very rare, but it's not uncommon for people to go. I don't know, just personally, 5 days, 1 day. I don't even like going out there to visit them. I get nervous.
Nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. I've been there a few times myself as a visitor.
If they are in jail, by statute, they're going to qualify, even if they got, you know, if they can't make bond or make bail and they can't get to their money to get out, they're going to qualify for our services no matter what they make. There's a case law on that.
Can you change, Tim, though? Like let's say I found myself in that situation. I couldn't get at my money, a trust or whatever. I just plain didn't have any money. I signed the proper forms. I met the qualifications. You became my attorney. Can you then change to a private attorney later on if you wish?
You're always free to do whatever you want. It's your life and it's your case. If you want to hire a private attorney, you're more than welcome.
I see.
A lot of times, they might qualify that we get the ball rolling and things are going along, and they might not be able to afford it, but maybe grandma decides they
Sure.
want to get somebody or something, whatever they want. It's their life and it's their case.
Well, sometimes we hear stories of people fire their attorneys, and it's understandable. It could happen. Can a public defender be fired by the client?
They could be fired, but if they want to remain with the public defender's office, well, that's up to me to decide who their attorney is.
I see.
I don't generally let people pick and choose their attorneys.
Yeah,
They get
sure.
who is assigned to that court.
And if they chose not to have that person, then their other options is they could just go pro
right.
se or get a private attorney.
Right. It works, that door swings both ways. There have been times when people start with private attorneys and end up qualifying for us and being
sure,
there.
Sure.
But they're free to do what they want.
Do you get to pick the clients your office represents?
We represent anybody that comes in there that qualifies based on the income level and the fact that it is a criminal case. It doesn't matter what they're charged with. As long as it's in that court, we're going to take them.
Well, is there ever a time when your office will not represent somebody?
The only time our office won't represent it is if there's a conflict. Let's say two people are charged with cross complaints of domestic violence, and they're pointing the fingers at each other. Our office would only represent one, but the other person will still get a free attorney.
Well, would that be then, somebody like me who just works out as an attorney in the area?
Well, the court does keep a list of private attorneys to use for conflict
assignment,
right.
similar to what we do in common
Right.
pleas. So that's a perfect example. The domestic case, you get two warring parties. You'll take one, but you can't take the other.
Right.
So the judge has to then give it to
Then we'll notify the court that there's a conflict.
Does that happen a lot, or?
Not generally. Generally, we don't see a lot of people pointing fingers at each other. You might see it in a theft case or the domestic violence kind of matter, but generally you don't see a lot
of a group of people involved in a crime.
You see it a lot more in juvenile.
I see.
Kids run in groups.
Sure.
So you're going to see that a little more there. But
so you're working. Well, I guess it would be fair to say you're working in conjunction. I mean, at the same time, you're not necessarily working together with the other attorneys, but you have one client of this transaction, and maybe the local attorney has the other.
Right.
Even though I guess you can talk to each other. And
right.
You can
well,
work in conjunction.
you might. We tend to get. There's a lot of times when there's a misdemeanor that's charged that goes to Medina Muni, and there might be a companion felony. And they'll be assigned an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll work with...
Because the common pleas court is assigning, and okay. Boy, the time is flying by here, Tim. I have a lot of questions. Very much enjoyed talking to you about this. Because your office only does criminal matters, is there another office similar to yours that could help people with civil matters?
Well, there's legal aid. I'm not sure what they're, they do a lot of broad things. There's a lot of landlord-tenant matters, a lot of civil matters. I'm not exactly sure what kind of cases they take. There might be some creditor rights things, but if it's not criminal, that's who I'd start with.
Okay, but as far as the public defender, what you do, your office, strictly criminal.
Strictly criminal.
I see. Well, Tim, I'd like to thank you for being our guest on Law Talk. I can't believe how fast this time went by today. To view this episode and others, go to www.czclep.org. I am John Celebrezze, and I thank you for tuning in to Law Talk.